This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good night, Adam Hartung. How are you doing on this wonderful, beautiful night?
Well, I was doing some email here and talking to some people about the horrible weather that's being hit in the upper Midwest. I lived in Chicago for 30 years, and now I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. So it was a beautiful 65-degree Fahrenheit sunny day for me. But I've been contacting a lot of friends back home, back in Chicago, to make sure everybody's okay.
Okay. You're not rubbing it in their faces, though.
You know, I don't intend to, but somehow I think they feel it anyway.
I know the feeling because, I was just speaking to someone from Canada, and I know the feeling. Like, especially if I say, you know what, I feel your pain. Here's what. I have an email there with some Caribbean sunshine. Can I send that to you? I think that really registers. It's a great pleasure to connect with you, my friend. Please do tell me, which of your talents, a talent that you've been operating in, do you think is responsible for us connecting at this specific time in history?
Well, I'm very interested in helping people understand that growth is a limitless opportunity. And I am always out and looking for people that can help distribute this message across the planet.
That's intriguing. So where did the life journey begin where you realized this was part of your purpose to share?
I worked for many years as a consultant, and I started 35 years ago helping people to focus their business, figure out their core strengths, and optimize their efficiencies. And what I learned after several years of doing this kind of work was that it wasn't making companies more successful, wasn't making anybody more successful to try to say, oh, this is your strength, optimize your strength. And in fact, there was an awful lot of unhappiness around that. And so I stopped and I started to rethink. And I said, well, what is it that makes greater success? And I learned that over time and working with a lot of colleagues and doing an awful lot of research, talking to thousands of people, we finally got the breakthrough to understanding that success and happiness are tightly linked to growth, and that growth is limitless, and that you could follow a few simple steps that could help you to be a lot more successful. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't around optimizing, but it had a lot to do with adapting.
Mm-hmm. That's intriguing. I do appreciate you attempting to summarize something so large in 30 seconds. Yeah, I do appreciate that. And I can well imagine the data that has gone through your desktop, your mind as well. Who did you learn that ability, though, to adapt? It seems to be something that's super necessary in what you're doing. Well,
what happened was I became a colleague of a man named Clayton Christensen, who teaches at the Harvard Business School. I'm an alumni of that school. And he had identified some amazing stories about innovation, largely that people who were adaptable were the ones who were innovative, who were the ones who were most successful. And so I think that that's what spurred me to really devote my life to this kind of work, was that adaptability was linked to innovation, was linked to growth, was linked to success. And I felt that not enough people understood that.
Yeah. Well, there's one thing I've realized in my humble journey thus far. I'm not sure if the mindset changes over years because I've not been doing what I've been doing through adaptability for more than a decade. But it is challenging by nature to look at a mountain and not be negative if you need to climb it, especially if it's in Chicago, right? Have you seen, with the people you've spoken with and work with, have you seen that? Have you seen a wrong 360 turn from how they look at the challenge?
Yes, because most people get up every day and operate their lives exactly as they did the day before. They more or less live as if they were, if you use the analogy of driving a car, looking in the rearview mirror. And, yesterday was a certain way, and what I'm going to do is pretty much do today what I did yesterday. And the problem is that the world changes. And as the world changes, again, back to the analogy of the car, it's the roadway in front of you changing. And when you're not looking out the windscreen and trying to figure out how to adapt to this changing world, you can get further and further disconnected, which leads to an awful lot of sense of feeling like you're a failure, which leads to negativity, which leads to spiraling bad stuff.
Yeah, I totally agree. Oh, now, people are listening, and I'm sure they're registered in their mind. Ooh, that's me. Where's the best place for them to connect with you, Adam?
Oh, that's easy. They can connect by going to my website, which is adamhartung.com, ADAMHARTUNG.com, or they can reach out to me directly by email to adam@sparkpartners, SPARKPARTNERS.com.
Love it. Well, do tell me, Adam, one other thing that you've done consistently over the last 3 years, please.
I think that pushing this journey of helping people understand how they can grow has helped me to grow as well. And it led to understanding that, I didn't have to be in Chicago and I could move to a new place. And it's helped me to start to develop new friends and reach out to communities that previously were not something I tried to access. And it's helped me to find a better vision for my life as well.
Looking back from now to then, how does it make you feel to see what you've accomplished?
Interestingly, I don't do that. And so anytime I look backward, I always think of how much more I should have done and how much I didn't accomplish and the things that didn't work out as well as I wanted them to. And I think that's because I'm never really trying to spend much time doing that. I'm spending most of my time trying to look out into the future and figure out where I want to go. And it takes a lot of energy to keep focused on the future. And I find that to be a more valuable spending of energy than trying to look at the past.
I love that. Why would you suggest other people do that as well?
Oh, definitely. When you get caught up looking in the past, you're gonna find yourself mired in the things that went wrong, and you'll have some accomplishments, but at the same time, you'll say, "Gee, I wonder why this didn't happen." And the problem is we can't do anything about it. The things that happened, and there's not a darn thing we can do about them. And so the best we can do is to keep looking at the future and saying, "How can I make the most out of the future that I haven't lived yet?"
Amazing audience, you're hearing it live from Adam Hartung. Adam, let's switch gears for a moment. Now let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful warm blue Caribbean water. Adam, what is your earliest childhood memory?
That's a tough one. I can recall walking with my sisters when I was probably 1.5 and just barely starting to understand language and looking at their faces and observing them moving and knowing that they were talking to me, but not understanding what they were doing at the time, just realizing that I was looking at the world and all the things around me.
Wow, that is amazing. So why do you think this memory is so clear?
I think somehow it was the awakening to the fact that most of the world was outside, not inside. It wasn't inside me. It wasn't inside my house. It wasn't inside whatever, I think I'd been completely self-centered in my life until then. And at that moment, I realized that I needed to be outwardly centered, not inwardly centered.
How do you see that memory connecting to who you are today?
I don't spend a lot of time in self-evaluation. I spend a lot of time thinking about what I can do and how I can try to accomplish things, even if they're things other people might think I can't accomplish.
That's intriguing. Can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind with that memory?
Sure.
I love the concepts that are going on in that child, where you are honing in on more than just what is said. As much as it's not even in your capacity, as you said, at that particular time. But the fact that you are looking at the body movements and the gestures to interpret the story that's being shown to you. So, and I think that's something you would have had to do a few times over, specifically looking towards the future and not the past, because the language isn't the same, isn't it?
Yes, I think that's very true. We overly rely on words. One of the worst things about what's happened in the digital world has been this over-reliance on communicating via words and emojis, and it just doesn't allow for the context of reality. You know, to know where somebody's sitting, to know what they're looking at, to know the environment they're in, to know the pressures, the stresses they feel, to know their goals, their objectives, and to pick these things up by observing their location, observing the nuances of their face, their hands, their body language. That is so important, and we in this world today, right now where we are, there's an over-reliance on words, and I think it drives people apart, because I can disagree with somebody face to face. And you know, it rarely leads to a fight. We can agree to disagree, and we can agree to move on, and maybe even have a cup of coffee or a cocktail. But when you disagree with nothing but words, and you don't have the ability to understand the person or their intentions, it can become very ugly very fast.
Definitely. I only think of email wars.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, an email war is a really dirty thing, isn't it? Like, wow, yeah, people can, yes, I love that. Well done.
People that, or a relationship would end, and one person would say, well, you know, you did this because you intended to hurt me. And years can go by, and then they'll get together, and they'll say, why did we break up? And the person will say, well, you know, when you did that, you intended to hurt me. And then the second person will say, oh, I didn't intend to hurt you at all. I was being driven by this stress and this behavior and this other thing that happened, and my intentions, there were no intentions like that at all. And once each person understands the other person's intentions, they can immediately get over the problem. But we far too often communicate with words, and we don't know somebody's intention. We don't ask what their intentions are, and we make assumptions about their intentions, and that can just, as you said, lead to email wars and even broken relationships.
Yeah. Love your depth, my friend. If we fast forward to when you were 12, what was your favorite song?
Well, the problem is that it was by definition would have been jazz,
right?
And I'm trying to think now of probably which one it might have been. I was very strange. I was raised in Oklahoma, and I never had any passion for country music or rock and roll or pop tunes or any of that. But when I discovered jazz, I become a lifelong fan, and it was probably something by John Coltrane or Dizzy Gillespie or someone like that would have been the things I listened to.
Tell me one song that pops to mind.
I'm struggling right now. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure, it happens. Yeah. Who did you say the artist was?
Well, I like Dizzy Gillespie, John Coltrane, Miles Davis. Yeah. Those were the people I listened to a lot. And see, the part of the issue with jazz music is it's actually a lot of times you don't think about what the name of the song is, because it's sort of
it's the emotional experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely. Blue Train. How does Blue Train sound? All right, my friend. Well, we've arrived at our destination. But before we get off of this time machine, there is a small declaration form. Say it's yes or no. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready? He said yes. Have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
I have, but I'm not sure they fully adopted it.
All right. Are you married?
No.
Do you have children?
Yes.
Do you believe in God?
No.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Yes.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
Yes.
How about screen time, the phone and or the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Far more than 8.
If you, Adam, had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents who you are, Adam Hartung, what would you say that is?
A person that is completely committed to helping people understand the power and success of growth.
Love it. Adam, this has been a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
I hope everyone is doing the best they can to try to find something good in this incredibly complex, ever-changing world, and striking out for the benefits that the future will give them.
Adam, again, great pleasure, my friend. Thank you for being on what is inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This segment has been brought to you by Amazel Enterprise.